Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to North Shore Live, Cooper's Corner. This is a very exciting evening. We are live, of course. It is Wednesday, April the 13th, and I waited for the gentleman who is on the program tonight for 4 months to come on. We are live. We have phone in. Let me give you that number. It's 432-5684, and that will be on the TV for you. We have as our guest Chuck Schaden, and I'm sure that you are familiar with his beautiful voice. It lulls you right into sleep.
You put you to sleep.
You better believe that. And I'm very ecstatically happy to have not only Chuck but his beautiful wife Ellen here in the studio with us. Welcome.
Thank you. Thank you.
Welcome. And look at that radio. That is.
Isn't that a beauty?
It's a sweetheart.
This is a Philco Cathedral radio, and this is the radio that you used to listen to hear the Lux Radio Theater.
I remember Lux.
And the Green Hornet and the Shadow
and
Inner Sanctum.
Inner Sanctum.
Jack Armstrong, the All-American Boy.
I love it.
Great stuff. Yeah.
Is that your very own?
It's my radio.
Really?
This radio, I have to tell you about this radio. We found it in a garage sale or a flea market or something. It was painted white. And someone had put this, I guess they use it in the kitchen or in the basement or in a garage or something like that. And it was in terrible shape, but it worked. So I said to my wife, I said, do you think we could... Oh, yeah, tubes, not transistors.
No.
This is as old as I am, you know.
That's a real McCoy, a genuine.
And my wife refinished this. And she took all the paint off, and she worked this down, and she got this, and we got the grill cloth. And it's a nice... It's really a kind of a symbol of the old radio days. When you think of the radio shows from the 30s and the 40s, you think of this cathedral radio, you know.
Oh, that is stunning.
Beauty, yeah.
That's a beauty. Maybe we should ask how you got started into this, because I want to hear a couple of the clips that you were kind enough to bring.
You want me to turn this on, right?
Well,
at some time we'll turn this on. Maybe we can.
That would be some magic. How did you get started, Chuck?
I was a fan. I grew up listening to radio. And
well, wait, we have to tell everybody that there was nothing else but.
Well, the entertainment for the general public was you had radio, it was free.
Yeah.
You had movies,
that was
pretty cheap.
Yeah,
you know, you'd go. I got a quarter on a Saturday, and I could see a movie, take the streetcar, and have candy and popcorn.
You're saying words that this generation doesn't know what a streetcar is.
They don't know what they've missed.
Oh, it was fun. It was fun.
Sure.
I paid 10 cents. I used to pay 10 cents in the streetcar. And then
when I was a kid, half fare was 4 cents.
Let's see.
Half fare was 4 cents. So.
But
I'm much older than you are, so don't worry.
But I remember sitting in those, almost like this, and getting stuck in the back because there were holes or it wasn't.
Well, at the end of the line, the conductor would come by and he'd flip the backs of those chairs, you know, because the car wouldn't turn around.
They would turn
just the backs of the seats would move so that when you're going north, you're facing north. When you're going south, you're facing south. Bang, bang, bang. Of course, the kids used to move those.
My 2 older brothers and I, for our own entertainment, we came from very super modest poverty level, but we used to take knives and forks and spoons and put them in the kitchen table where the slit used to be, where you used to add the add the leaf, and he used to play conductor and go like this here, and we used to sit in, one right behind each other, and we used to play, where do you want to go, ding ding, where do you want to go? Oh, I think for this generation, they could assimilate it to the trolley in San Francisco. That would be
close,
somewhat like it. I mean, it didn't jump in and jump out, and it was enclosed. It wasn't, sitting like that.
And the best place to ride the streetcar on the old Chicago surface lines was right up in the front, next to the motorman.
Oh, absolutely.
You get the window down and the wind blowing at you, and he's out there banging on the.
You know where they are now, don't you?
Yeah, they're out in Union, Illinois.
St. Louis, Missouri's got them too.
Oh yeah,
St. Louis. What color did you remember?
Red.
Oh, green and white.
Well, that was the Green Hornet. They called that the Green Hornet. Now we're back to old time radio.
Oh, here we go. See how we came in a circle?
Yeah. I listened to the radio when I was a kid.
Yeah.
Growing up, I loved the radio shows. And then television came along, and I thought, this is going to be great. I'm going to watch all my radio shows, and it was different. After a while, I decided to turn back on the radio and see what was happening with all my favorite shows, like The First Nighter and Mr. Keen, Tracer of Lost Persons. And they were all gone. We had deserted them. And so had the sponsors, and so had the networks.
Why?
And, well, because there was more money in television. They took all the money that radio was earning and changed it. They made it a very inexpensive medium. And they took all the drama and the comedy and the mystery and the adventure out of radio. By 1960, it was all gone, virtually all gone, and no imagination left. So I was disappointed. I was looking for those radio shows, and then after a while, I found some of those that I found that they were available, and I started collecting. And building a small collection of radio shows, I decided I wanted my friends to hear these things because it was too good to keep to myself, and it was nostalgic for me at the time, but not a distant nostalgia. And eventually my friends got tired of coming over on Saturday night and sitting around listening to radio shows, because that's not the way you listen to radio. You're doing something else. You're listening and enjoying or imagining, listening to the pictures, listening to the sounds that create the pictures.
That's right. That's right.
And by this time, my collection is getting bigger and bigger, and I decided the best way to share this is to try to go on the radio with it. And I found a little station in Evanston that was willing to give me a few hours on a Saturday afternoon, and I started putting these things on the air. And it was strictly a hobby going with it. And that was almost 24 years ago now. We started that, and we're still going strong, sharing the radio sounds with people on my 2 radio broadcasts.
Yes, and we should mention that you are, what, on WBBM?
WBBM News Radio 78 every night, 7 nights a week at midnight, 12 o'clock midnight for an hour. And on Saturday afternoons, you can tune us in on 97 FM, which is WNIB, and we do 4 hours, full 4 hours on a Saturday. And this Saturday, we're doing a tribute to the National Barn Dance, the old WLS National Barn Dance. It's 70 years ago since that program went on the air.
Oh my goodness, I remember that. I remember that. Back in the 50s, I remember that.
Oh, sure, it went on until 1960. In fact, we're playing the very last broadcast of the Barn Dance from WLS in 1960.
Does that date me? I shouldn't want anyone to know about that, but does that but these are not only nostalgia, but with good feelings of nostalgia, not...
Well, you know what nostalgia is, Bev? Nostalgia is going to the past and remembering the good things about the past, you know?
Yeah, for sure.
And you forget about the bad things, and the things that were just so-so, maybe in the glow of the years, they're not so bad. Now, one thing that I've learned over the years that I've been doing this business is that it's nostalgia for some, but for many others, it's the first time around. It's the first opportunity that they've had to hear these programs, and I'm delighted to say that there are young people and youngsters who never heard this stuff before who've said, oh, I've discovered something, this is great. And what they've discovered is the use of their imagination.
You see, if you keep it long enough, it comes back into style.
That's right.
I will tell you that, was it Don Winslow of the Navy that was it on the radio
Don
first?
Winslow of the Navy, sure.
And then I remember it was on Saturday mornings. They used to run, serials.
Well, they had serial chapters, the cliffhangers of Don Winslow from the theaters, and they would show those on Saturday mornings on TV. Yeah.
And well, it was Flash Gordon.
All of those action characters did something on radio probably before television. I mean, we had the Adventures of Superman.
Yes. In
fact, we're playing episodes of Superman every Saturday night on our program.
Do you do this live in the evenings?
The show is on from midnight to 1. And generally, I pre-record.
Okay.
I pre-record, but I'm there.
Okay.
When I'm listening to the show maybe a little bit ahead of you, but you listen to it at midnight.
We should tell where that studio is, because I was there when I believe Lake County had their players come out and do a couple little scripts from Fibber McGee.
Oh, well, you're talking about the Museum of Broadcast Communications.
Yes.
Yeah, now that's where I do my Saturday afternoon broadcast, and I do that live. And there's a studio, and anyone who wants to come into the studio can come in and sit and watch the show.
It's just like old times.
That's right. And we do have groups of people who perform recreations of the old radio shows, and they come in. And I think last week they did Fibber McGee and Molly and Gunsmoke.
Oh, really?
Yeah, and we have lots of things like that. Last November, we brought in 3 of the original cast members of the Great Gildersleeve radio show.
Really?
And they came in and performed with our local people. A
Throckmorton?
reenactment of the old Leroy.
Leroy. Yeah,
That's right.
Oh,
yeah.
sure,
Yeah.
absolutely. Mayor. Yeah. This is a fun evening for me, absolutely all the way, because this brings back. We did not have video games there. This was not even created. But this brings back gentle thoughts of families, see, when families were families. Regardless of what monetary stature you may or may not have been, the family, everyone sat around the radio listening.
Absolutely.
Everyone.
Absolutely. Well, that was the wonderful thing about radio. The family would be together, and they would all be listening to the program at the same time, but they'd all be seeing different pictures. You know, Dad would be sitting in the easy chair.
Yep.
He maybe had the newspaper, but he was listening. Mom was sitting on the end of the sofa. She was mending.
Sewing, absolutely.
And the kids were on the floor, sprawled out on a rug in front of the radio, maybe just focusing on the pattern of the drapes. Or
my brothers used to lay
wall.
back and cross their legs and just look up at the ceiling and listen.
You
to
looked, but you didn't see that. What you saw were the pictures.
In your mind.
In your mind,
That's
right.
right.
And you saw all of that stuff. And that was the beauty of it, because there was very little on radio that couldn't have been shared by the entire family together. I mean, everything is kind of divisive today on TV. You know, this program is aimed at this demographic group, and that one at this group, and this one, and this is for kids, and I can't watch that because it's for kids. I can't watch this because it's adult. Radio
was for everybody.
And there was a great variety on radio in those days. Today, mostly, radio stations have a format. And this radio station has this 24 hours a day. And the next radio station has this 24 hours a day, and so forth and so on. But in those radio days that we're talking about here, from the 30s and the 40s, even the 50s, a single station would have comedy, mystery, adventure, drama, music, and the music generally was live music. You know, if you tuned in your radio back in the 1930s or 40s, any night after 10 o'clock, you could get ballrooms from all across the country. You would be tuning into the Cafe Rouge or the Hotel Pennsylvania in New York City and hear Glenn Miller.
Glenn Miller.
You go out to the Palladium in Hollywood. You might be at the Edgewater Beach Hotel in Chicago.
Oh, that's right, the Edgewater, the old Edgewater Beach.
The Aragon or the Trianon, you'd have all of that stuff. In fact, if I can turn this on right now, I maybe could take you back for a minute to the days when live radio brought us the big bands.
Should we tell our control person in there? They're going to turn on the radio.
Plug in the radio.
Can you do it for a minute? Let's see. We're going to do this carefully.
You press the button.
Wait. Press the... Did you turn it on?
It's on.
Yes, it's dance music by Dick Juergens and his famous orchestra, coming to you direct from the glamorous air-conditioned Aragon Ballroom on Chicago's north side, Lawrence Avenue near Broadway, famous coast to coast for the finest in music and dancing always. And now your host, Dick Juergens himself, with his opening number for this evening.
Thank you very much, Hal Stark, and hi, ladies and gentlemen. It's Dick Juergens from Chicago's famous Aragon. Our first song tonight, folks, is that popular rhythm tune, I Love the Girl. Al Galani tells you all about it. Okay, Al?
Okay. Now that was Dick Juergens and the orchestra from the Aragon Ballroom in Chicago.
Absolutely.
Back in those great days.
Absolutely.
And it was really representative of all the wonderful things that you could get on the air. And so I'm lucky. I'm the guy who's been able to, as I say on my one program every week, bridging the sound gap between yesterday and today.
For sure, for sure. This definitely will be going into the future because the younger generation is totally unaware of this. And this is a new find for them, as you mentioned before.
Well, they're not totally unaware because for 24 years now we've been exposing them to it. And we've found a real good, small but good audience of young people who are very loyal to this.
Oh,
well,
thank you very much, and I am very loyal. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Tell me, do you have any journalism students that come in and just want to do an interview or something with you regarding this and make some kind of statements that this is
sure.
passe and this is
no. If someone doesn't think much of the old-time radio stuff, they don't bother to do any kind of interview or something.
Really?
The people who come to me about this, they start off primarily as listeners.
Sure.
They listen to it, they like it, they enjoy it, and then they come and so they focus on the old-time radio stuff. Now we call it old-time radio. For them, it's a different era of radio, but
sure.
we call it that. And they want to write papers, they want to write theme papers, they want to write master's thesis. They want to do all this stuff, and they come and ask for an interview so that they can get more information. And I'm always delighted to do that.
You know, you are an encyclopedia of information. I mean, considering all of the players from the past. I mean, I was just thinking the other day, there aren't very many left. You know.
Well, the list is getting shorter, I'm afraid to say. Yeah.
The only one that I can recall presently that is still going strong is George Burns, of course, Gracie, you know.
Well, it's interesting. Of the biggest stars in the golden era of radio, 3 of them are still alive and working. George Burns, Red Skelton,
really,
and Bob Hope.
Bob Hope.
I mean, they all had big shows on radio. I mean, Bob Hope was in the top 10 on radio from the late 30s when he started until he moved into television into the
We
late
should
50s.
Tell our viewers how old Bob Hope is.
I think Bob Hope is 90 now, 91 or something like that.
Yeah,
just this month,
I know.
I guess.
I can't believe it. I can't believe it.
He's just a kid, though. Burns is 97 or something.
Yeah, I think, what did they say? The Palladium signed him for his 100th birthday to play in...
well, I read years ago they said he was going to play the Palladium when he was 100. Now they're saying he's going to play Las Vegas when he's 100.
Oh,
so
really?
He's got a double gig that night.
But I mean, like, the guy really needs the bucks, you know.
He doesn't need the money. He needs the work. He wants to work. I mean, I think all 3 of those that I just mentioned, they want to go out swinging, and if they can do it,
but they're the only 3 that really
they're still working.
Still working.
Yeah.
Not in some retirement village or something.
No, I think those are of the big names that were on radio. There are still a lot of the radio people around. Les Tremaine, who was one of the stars of the First Nighter program and did an awful lot of work during the radio days. He's still living. He's retired primarily, but he's still doing a few things. In fact, he came to the museum and did a thing with us a while ago.
What a charge. I can't tell you how absolutely that's... I mean, I have to touch your knee for someone who touched... really, because that...
It's wonderful. That's one of the great joys of my life, the things that I've done with this. I started out as a fan.
Yeah.
And I wanted to share the collection that I had.
Sure.
And I thought that the audience that would tune into my programs would like to know more about the background of the programs. I mean, I always like old movies.
Yeah.
I like to know about the old movies. I want to know a little bit about what was going on when they were making it. I want to learn something about the performers and so forth. So I started doing that with the radio people. And 24 years ago, there were many more of them around.
Oh, for sure.
And I've been lucky enough, and it's been a big joy of mine to have been able to meet these people and to interview them.
Nice.
And I've got something much better than an autograph. I've got a tape with a conversation between
nice.
me. And we've spoken with Jim Jordan, who played Fibber McGee in the radio days. We spoke with a fellow by the name of Brett Morrison. Now, you won't recognize that name, but he was the Shadow.
Oh.
Remember that?
Who knows what evil lurks? I know. I remember that. Yeah, I remember that. Oh.
From Beth in Highland Park.
Okay, you want to turn that? Beth?
Yes, I'd like to know about if there's a store maybe that I could pick up old-time tapes or maybe one of the old-time radios. If you could tell me if there is one.
Wait, and you've got some...
Is she on my payroll? What?
Oh, well, it sounds nice. I don't know. And you've got also Chuck Schaden's Nostalgia Digest.
Well, we have a magazine called the Nostalgia Digest and Radio Guide.
Okay.
And this is a magazine that carries articles about the radio days, about early movies, television, the big bands, and so forth. And it also carries the listings of the material that we play on the air. So you can find out what we're playing at midnight on WBBM.
That's nice.
And what we're playing on Saturdays on WNIB.
Now, how do people get that?
1 year subscription is $15, and you send to Nostalgia Digest, Box 421, Morton Grove, Illinois, 60053.
That's the same voice I hear on the radio.
Right, yeah.
That's the same voice.
But she was asking, Beth was asking about a place to get tapes of the radio
tapes.
shows.
Okay,
and we have a store called Metro Golden Memories.
Okay.
And this is at 5425 West Addison Street in Chicago. And we sell thousands of tapes of the old radio shows. You can find them there on cassette tapes for as little as $6.95 for an hour, up to $39 maybe for 18 hours worth, or 9 hours worth of material.
Incredible.
All kinds of stuff.
Incredible. You carry other nostalgia besides the
We have
tapes?
books about radio, television, and the movies. We have videotapes of the classic and the vintage movies. You can't come in and buy the new movies or rent the new movies from us, but you can rent or purchase the classics like Gone with the Wind, any of the Cary Grant pictures,
Nice.
Gable, and you know, all of those things.
You've already struck.
Tracy
You've
and
already
Hepburn.
struck hard.
Laurel and Hardy, the works.
Oh,
yeah.
you know what I saw the other night on one of the cable programs? Laurel and Hardy and Ralph Edwards was doing This Is Your
This
Life.
Is Your Life, yeah.
Yeah. What a delight. What a delight.
Those people brought us a treasure of entertainment.
Oh, absolutely.
In the radio and in the movies. And it was so good that it has never been surpassed. And what they're doing today may be okay, but it doesn't, on a scale of 1 to 10, it doesn't get up as high as they did in those other days.
Well, because...
But I'm prejudiced.
Well, but the originality and the gusto which they enjoyed themselves when they were, you know, Laurel and Hardy would fall in a hole, or he would always set him up. He was always set up for something. Or even Abbott and Costello, that who's on first, what's on second. Do we have that on? Is that?
I have a tape of that in my collection, and I have it coming through the airwaves here.
Can we hear that?
Now we just kind of
carefully?
close your eyes and listen to this, because that's what radio does.
I think that's the next one on.
Yeah. Do it.
Click, click.
What's the guy's name on first base?
Oh, no, wait a minute. What is on second base?
I'm not asking you who's on second.
Who's on first?
One base at a time.
Don't change the
I'm
players
not
around.
changing anybody. I'm only asking you, what's the fellow's name on first base?
But I'm telling you, what's the fellow's name on second
I'm
base?
not asking you who's on second.
Who is on first?
I don't know.
He's on third. We're not talking about
How did I get on third base?
You mentioned his name.
If I mention a third baseman's name, who did I say is playing third?
No, who's playing first?
Stay off of first, will you? Now, what's the fellow's name on third base?
What's on second?
Who's on second?
Who's on first?
I don't know.
He's on third.
And that's a classic comedy routine. And that routine, I must say, is responsible for getting a lot of young people interested in old-time radio. Because it's not dated, it's timeless, it's very well written, it's humorously delivered, and young kids hear that for the first time, they fall on the floor.
They're hysterical,
I mean, it's a great word
I know.
Play, you know, it's great. Yeah.
It's terrific. Yeah. It's terrific. I think what we see now is, of course, the Three Stooges are on. You know, there was no contribution for the Three Stooges on radio because they were visual. They were more visual than they were for the airwaves. But some of the other programs were absolutely fearful when you used to hear Inner Sanctum or the Green Hornet, or
Well, they burned so indelibly into our imaginations a picture that 40, 50 years later, people have not forgotten. Many people come up to me and say, I remember hearing a program when I was a kid about this or about that, about the snake loose in the hold of a ship or something like that.
Terrifying.
And I was so scared of that. And now, of course, that has become, particularly that program has become a very famous broadcast. But people have that kind of an indelible memory of those radio days. And at Christmas time, people remember listening to Lionel Barrymore as Ebenezer Scrooge in the Dickens version of A Christmas Carol. I mean, Barrymore did that year after year after year, and it became a tradition.
That's right.
And the kids radio show at Christmas time, The Cinnamon Bear, was a series that, searching for the silver star for the top of the Christmas tree in 26 episodes. And
I know.
we still play that.
The delight. It's just how, when you are so enamored of such a wonderful time in your life, it's a little difficult to let the younger generation now understand, but they would know about Uncle Ed and Froggy, Plunk Your Magic Twanger Froggy.
Smiling Ed McConnell.
Absolutely, Smiling Ed. The shows were all wholesome. There was no violence or brutality. There was dignity. There
was some violence. There was not much brutality, but there was violence. But you see, your imagination was in control.
Sure.
Now, on a cop show, adventure show, mystery show, there would be somebody shooting somebody else.
Yeah.
Sound effects man.
Yeah.
Bang, bang.
Yeah.
You'd hear boom, boom. Body would fall. Oh, got him, you'd say. Now, what would you see? What did you want to see?
That's right.
Did you want to see blood spurting from the body? Generally, we never thought about it.
No.
He died, the bullet shot him, he was dead, that was it. Now, today on television, he dies in slow motion, and blood splatters all over the place.
It's very graphic.
Or the movies.
Yes,
very graphic.
Yes.
And it may be more than you want to see. See, you have to watch on television or in the movies what someone else's imagination is being depicted on the screen. And there may be no limit to that. And you may recoil, say, I don't want to see that. But your imagination played the important role, see.
You were your own producer. I mean, you're a director, actually.
See, you costumed the actors, you decorated the sets.
Absolutely, you did it.
And you decided, I've said this so many times, but you decided whether that black sedan speeding off into the distance was a Chevy or a
Packard,
Ford or
black
a Packard.
Packard.
Ask
Black
the man
Packard.
who owns one, yeah.
Yeah, we used to.
Yeah, right.
So I know that. We used to.
So we had better control over it.
Do you know that my father specifically went out and bought a black Packard because he was so taken? He said, boy, that's elegance as far as he was concerned. He said, everyone on the radio had a Packard. Studebakers were, you couldn't tell the front from the back, but that's, or the Hudson, that was the upside down bathtub. But the black Packard, that was the cat's meow.
Well, sure.
See? Yeah. But the important part is that people were driven by, and what are some of the commercials that they used to have? Does soap or Ivory?
Does everything.
Does and Ivory.
Does everything. Rinso White.
Rinso White. Yes, the little bird that used to tweet. Yes.
And we had Rinso with Solium.
I don't
that has another product. And so you had Pepsodent. You wonder where the yellow went when you brush your teeth with Pepsodent.
That's right. That's right. That was in the same era as oleomargarine.
Well, oleomargarine was biggest during the war years because butter was a hard
scarcity.
Commodity, right?
Absolutely.
And they were, in many states, they were coloring. Oleomargarine was a white color like lard almost.
Yep.
And in many states, they were coloring it a yellow.
Yeah.
But in Illinois, I think, and certainly Wisconsin, which is a dairy state, they said, no, you have to sell it white so people know it's not butter. But there was a little button on the packet that had the food coloring in it. And you'd snap that, and then it would release the dye into this. And then you would knead this plastic package until nobody ever kneaded that long enough to get the yellow even.
Completely
so you always had streaks. In there,
I remember that.
And
that was,
you could put that on your bread and
But
pretend.
I used to, that's right. And let's pretend that was on the radio while we were eating this. I was just, that's an instant, it's, like your mind just brings it up.
Well, that's what happens when you listen to these old radio shows. And on our WNIB program, we have a 4-hour show, so we have more time. And we play the shows with the commercials in them.
Oh, sure.
So you can listen to the old commercials, and you are really getting a feeling of what was going on at that period of time.
Sure.
And there may be just a little comment in the commercial. It gives you an idea of that this was happening in 1948 or in 1943 or during the war years. They were often talking about rationing and the scarcity of foods and other products and things
Buy
of that
war
nature.
bonds.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And you know, give to the Second War Loan and be a Red Cross volunteer, whatever it was. And it gives you a look at an era that you really won't find much in the history books. It might be a little footnote in the history book, but listening to the radio shows, they come alive. The period comes alive.
Instant. It's like you drop an Alka-Seltzer. That's an old-fashioned thing already. I mean, but
Sure.
It's
Listen to it fizz.
It's so effervescent.
Yeah.
Absolutely. And it's just the books can educate you, but they don't give you that feeling of you are there.
Well, that's right. The book tells you, a book will say this is what happened.
That's happened.
But if you listen to the radio shows, you can hear it happening.
That's right. You can.
In June of this year, on our Saturday show on 97 FM, we're going to do a D-Day retrospective.
Oh, wow.
50 years after the fact, we're going to show our listeners how radio in the States covered D-Day. From the early announcement by the German radio that said the Allies have attacked.
Really?
And then it was about 2 hours or 3 hours later with the official word from our command. And all through the whole day of June the 6th of 1944 and into June the 7th of 44, you're going to be able to hear selected programs from CBS and NBC showing the reactions of our people in the United States, the reports by shortwave from the newsmen in London, coming back from the front, being in an airplane when the parachute servicemen were dropped, you know, and everything else, landing on the beach, the whole thing. We're going to do it over 3 weeks, the first 3 Saturdays in June.
You're saying that, and do you know what I'm thinking in my head? I'm thinking Walter Winchell. I'm thinking Douglas Edwards.
Douglas Edwards, you're thinking H.V. Cultivar. Now, Walt Cronkite wasn't involved in that so much at that time, but you have all of these, Edward R. Murrow.
Yeah. That's right.
You have all these people.
Yeah.
So there is a drama connected with radio and that period of time that is so historical. And there's some entertainment programs from D-Day as well. I mean, we're playing a Bob Hope show from the night of D-Day. I mean, men are getting killed over there. It's the hope that this invasion is going to bring the war to a close. And Bob Hope gets on an abbreviated program and says, "We don't feel like being funny tonight." So they have the singer on his show sings Ave Maria, and the band plays a salute to the military services. And
Kate Smith's
pray. Kate Smith is on. God bless America. Yeah, you know.
Oh, yes.
So it's all kinds of stuff. It's chilling. It's chilling to hear that.
I know it is.
And then the next week we're going to be playing, you know, The Adventures of Ozzie and Harriet on radio, and Fibber McGee and Molly.
You know what is really important, and I think that you are a great contribution to life and to history presently, right now, and in the future, is because the kids nowadays are not taught this, are not even educated about this, and I'm speaking about in the schools, in the education system. They don't know anything about D-Day. They know nothing about December 7th, 1941, when we were lucky enough to go to Hawaii and we went to Pearl Harbor and stood on there. I was just overwhelmed.
Sure.
I knew I wasn't born yet. I wasn't even born yet. But just standing there in that memorial across the stack of the Arizona, I was overwhelmed with tears, and I just, from whence it came, I know not. It's just the closeness that 1,500 sailors and Marines were entombed beneath, never to see the light of day again. And I wasn't born yet, but my feelings towards that were the highest and patriotic it could possibly be. I don't know. With the young people nowadays, they don't even know about this. They have no idea
today,
about this.
The young people today are like young people yesterday and will be tomorrow. They believe that nothing existed before they were born.
No.
And we all do that. And you get the books and you read the history books, and unless you've got a teacher
someone
who can help bring the words on the page alive, and you have other devices to interest the reader, it's just going to be pages on the book.
I know.
And or words on the page.
Yeah.
And that's where I think the radio shows bring things to life.
Incredible.
And I mean, we're playing. I've been doing a whole sequence of World War II things, and I'm playing almost every week a news broadcast from World War II. Give 25 minutes. You got Douglas Edwards in the news.
Douglas
and
Edwards.
He's telling you what happened, what's happening, what happened,
Absolutely.
what's going on. And you get a real feel for it. And much more than if you read, World War II in a history book is one paragraph today, as far as our schools are concerned. Unless you're a history major and you want to get a little deeper
history
into
buff,
that.
I know.
Yeah.
That's pathetic, though. That's pathetic. We always say that we want to learn from history so it doesn't happen again.
Yeah.
But how is it not going to happen if the young people and the teachers in the school don't teach it so that they can understand what we all went through? My parents went through the Depression, and times were that's a whole other era that they grew up under. I was a post-war baby, Second World War. Although some people think it's the French and Indian, but other than that, our lifestyle was different. And the kids, when we say, well, we had to walk to school, there was no such thing as bus service. If you lived 8 blocks from school, you took a streetcar or you took a bus. Hey, a bus, wow, that was really modern. Or you walked in 42 degree below zero weather or whatever. You walked to school and you made it your business to be there. You made it your business to be there. Not any of this, well, I have rights, I don't want to go today, or, what is this nonsense? I think that's where we're losing a lot of these kids. They're not living their life true to fruition because is it attitude? Is it something that they can learn from the radio, Chuck?
Well, sure. If you listen, you can learn. You may learn the techniques of comedy or the techniques of drama, or you can learn from the history of the environment that the radio shows are being presented in. See, I always felt that I wanted to do more than play a radio show on the air. I mean, I think it's interesting to listen to a radio show. I think it's more interesting to know when that show was on, what else happened around the time that show was on.
Where was the world at that time?
That's correct.
Right. Where was the world?
What were people like at that time? I mean, we were talking about the streetcars before.
Yeah.
I mean, first there were streetcars, then there were buses. I mean, in the Chicago area, of course, you had the streetcars going up and down the streets, then eventually they were gone.
Well, they had to either pave over because they were cobblestones, and then the tracks.
Yeah.
And the buses were, it was too...
well, they said the buses were going to be safe because they would come to the curb instead of you going out and standing on the
middle of the
island. That
island.
was
Remember
in the
the
middle
island?
Of the street,
Wow.
So things change, and like in so many things, I talk about nostalgia, and so many things that are gone. You remember them, and you say, "Gee, that was fun. We did that." And all that. But would you want to do that again? I mean, would you want
absolutely.
To stand out?
I tell you right now, what comes to my mind. You're talking. I tell you, I have instant playback. Boom, boom, boom. Oh God. I'm thinking of chocolate soda or chocolate malt at the corner drugstore. Cost a whole, I paid 35 cents for it. And it came with a cookie and 2 scoops of vanilla ice cream, or 1 scoop of chocolate, 1 scoop of vanilla, and a little bit of whipped cream on the top. And we sat down and we ate on the counter in there. It was wonderful. I can say no wrong, and I can see no wrong in that. And nowadays, everything is packaged. It's a different type of commodity. It's it's Madison Avenue.
Well, you see, we're not a small town anymore.
I don't know if we had Madison Avenue then. I'm sure it was there, but and I grew up in the city, in Chicago, Illinois, on the north side in the city, and But
even Chicago is not a small town anymore. See, they talk about the global economy and the world around us. We have all this instant communications and all of that sort of thing. But what we've lost with it, I think, is the next door neighbor kind of a thing.
The personal touch.
Sure, that's right.
Mrs. Smith, I need a cup of sugar. Can I borrow a cup of sugar? Or Molly Goldberg on the radio, when she used to ask for what did she wanted to always a neighbor always borrowing from a neighbor, which I thought was excellent because that showed that people in the neighborhood knew each other. Nobody knows anybody around anymore. They could live in the same place 20 years and they don't know.
Well, but you see,
who's the right or who's to the
it
left.
was a different time. We had, most of the time, the women were not working outside of the house. They were at home, and they were there for their children.
Right.
And when the kids came home from school, Mom was there to give them a glass of milk and some cookies
That's right,
or whatever
before
it
dinner,
was.
sure.
And it's amazing how this society survived with just one working person in the household. And Dad probably worked pretty hard out there. Mom worked hard. She did the laundry, she did the mending, she did all of that stuff.
Hey, it was the wringer washer.
Sure.
I remember that.
Yeah.
You had to put the sheets through the wringer washer. It wasn't any of this plug it in, it does it yourself, and then, it kisses you on top of it or something.
You should hang the laundry out in the yard,
Oh, yeah.
Sure.
I remember
and
that.
And it smells so fresh.
Oh, I remember that.
But
Absolutely.
the radio shows that I do, we start off under the umbrella of nostalgia, and they trigger a real nice nostalgic memory of the past for the people who were there or who were near there or whatever it is. But the shows really do stand alone. They don't have to be shrouded in nostalgia, because it's proof of that is because of the young people who tune in who don't have a nostalgic memory of it. This shows stand alone, and most of them do. And I think the future of old-time radio lies with the young people who discover it and say, gee, we got to make sure we don't lose this.
Nope, never.
Now, I know a lot of people are taping the stuff off the air that I do. In fact, if I open up the studio window, I can hear a loud click as the play and record buttons go on.
Excellent.
And it's great, because these people are building up a collection for themselves, you see.
Sure.
And that's going to perpetuate it. And that's the same thing we're doing at the Museum of Broadcast Communications. We have the collection, my collection of, that little collection I started taping?
Yeah, I saw that.
I have now 50,000 radio broadcasts from that period of time. It's all at the Museum of Broadcast Communications. It's the core of the museum's radio collection.
Absolutely.
I'm proud that it's over there.
Oh, it's wonderful.
And that's going to sustain it. It's going to keep it alive for future generations.
Absolutely wonderful.
And I think we need to make sure that it's not the most important thing in the world, but it is a part of the culture of a generation or two that needs to be preserved so that people in the future can listen to it and enjoy it and learn from it a little bit.
It existed. Not that people say to you it never happened, or that, or at one point it may be eradicated out of the books, because they'll say, oh, we don't need that anymore. Let's just, discard that. No one's interested. But there are a lot of people interested. You do a wonderful, wonderful program that lifts a lot of spirits, because you can probably have a very hard day, or, life isn't treating everybody so well, but when you turn that on, it's automatic flashback to where you were.
Well, it's a nice escape. It's a nice escape for the past. I always say you don't want to live in the past. It's a great place to visit.
Yeah, right.
And when we play these programs, I hope to give a lift to some people. They give me a lift. They still give me a lift. From the program that you're going to listen to tonight at midnight on WBBM, that's as much fun for me to hear as it was when I first discovered these radio shows 30 years ago.
Jello, Jack Benny did Jello, and it came in what? I think 3 flavors at that time: cherry and whatever.
I think 6 delicious flavors.
6 delicious flavors.
Now, don't start me on what they are: orange, strawberry, raspberry, lemon, lime, grape, maybe.
No. Ellen, no.
Cherry? Oh, cherry. Okay, that's when we always forget cherry.
No. She did. That's excellent. Yeah, I said 6. I open up. My God, this is banana orange. It's orange pineapple, pineapple lemon, lemon lime.
I think we have too many choices on some things today. We don't need all those.
Well, choices are good, but when these kids are getting strung out on this stuff that just messes up their head and fries their brain and has to do something else, your program would be instant. I am so elated with your program. I think I should like to bring it up to the school as far as having, this is this is a part of history. We should be able to go into that and listen to what kind of history that is. And I know that the school is very alert to the young people as far as programming, and we have Giants in Action here at Highland Park High School, and they do a lot of cable work, a lot of things of that nature, but I think old-time radio. Do you go out and do any type
Occasionally I do. I have a real busy schedule, and I don't do much of that, but I will do it occasionally to different... In fact, I think it's Highland Park High School. They have every 2 years they have a big... where they bring in people from all over the community.
Oh, that's the art fair.
I'm not sure. I'm sorry. I've been there a couple of times and spoken to young people there about the old-time radio shows. And
this is
the thousands of libraries across the country have collections of old-time radio shows in their stacks. And people who don't want to listen to the radio at midnight or who don't want to buy tapes can go to the library and check out a couple of hours worth of old-time radio and listen to it and explore, because most of the libraries who have these things have a good variety of material.
This is so exciting. I'd like to hear more of this. Can we just go on with this and hear all the rest of them, or
we want to hear something else on the radio?
Yes, we want to hear something more.
You heard Abbott and Costello.
Okay.
Now here's another comedy team that wasn't actually is a comedy team of one person.
A comedy team.
Edgar Bergen.
Oh, and Charlie McCarthy.
And with this next up, I think we're going to listen to W.C. Fields on that. So let's tune us into the next thing on here. Huh?
Okay, it's on.
It strikes a tender chord in my heart.
Oh, thank you, Bill. You know, I thought you didn't like children.
Oh, not at all, Edgar. I love children. I can remember when, with my own little unsteady legs, I toddled from room to room.
When was that? Last night?
Quiet, Wormwood, or I'll whittle you down to a coat hanger.
Yeah.
Tell me, Charles, is it true your father was a gate-legged table?
If it is, your father was under it, or...
It's Charlie McCarthy with W.C.
W.C. Fields.
Whenever Fields came on the program, it was always lots of fun to...
He's talking to a doll, to a carved doll.
You know, it wasn't perceived as that by anybody. Now, Edgar Bergen went on radio at a time when they thought, what in the dickens would a ventriloquist do on the radio?
And you could see his lips move.
Well, he was not the world's greatest ventriloquist, but he was one of the world's greatest writers and a master of comedy timing. So he went on the Rudy Valley show. You've heard of Rudy Valley?
Oh, your time.
And he went on the Rudy Valley show.
Time.
And Valley put him on simply as a curiosity.
Really?
And Bergen, the audience loved it, but the listening audience didn't want to believe that it was a ventriloquist act. They thought there was another person
Somebody really
there.
talking, because
and the people in the studio audience, a couple hundred people in the studio audience, had a hard time believing that Charlie McCarthy was a ventriloquist dummy. They thought there was a midget sitting there.
Oh, really?
Little person. And actually Bergen's lips moved a little bit.
No.
Bergen says, so 250 people see my lips move, and 240 million people,
That's
or
right.
whatever it was, don't see it, and they hear this. And he was big. He was in the top, again, in the top 10 of radio for all those years.
And Elmer Snerd. Mortimer Snerd.
Yeah. You know, you talk about Mortimer Snerd and Charlie McCarthy. Those figures are on exhibit permanently at the Museum of Broadcast Communications.
Oh, how nice.
When you come down, it's in downtown Chicago.
Yes, it is.
In the Chicago Cultural Center.
Yes.
That's on Michigan Avenue at Washington Street, in the original Chicago Public Library building.
That's right. Okay.
And
on the first floor.
On the first floor.
Okay.
And you go into the museum.
To your left.
And that's right.
That's
You've
right.
been there.
Yes, I have.
And you see not only Charlie and Mortimer, but there is a Jack Benny's vault exhibit.
Yes, we went through that.
And Fibber McGee and Molly's closet.
Yes, the closet.
And a bunch of radios like this.
All different.
Are on display.
That's right.
Lots of stuff. And the one good thing about the museum, one of the best things about the museum. It doesn't cost a penny to come in to see
free,
it. It's free.
Free.
And it's open 7 days a week, except on city holidays or something
sure.
like that. From 10 in the morning till 4:30, Monday through Saturday, and Sunday from 12 until 5.
And parking is very accessible.
Well, there's parking all around.
That's right.
Downtown parking costs you a couple of dollars, you know.
Well, but we go to the underground.
The underground parking
Yeah,
is there,
and then we just walk right up and walk right across the street, right
That's
into
right,
the door.
yeah,
So it was a delight to go.
And if anybody comes to the museum on a Saturday, stop by and say hello, because I'm broadcasting there.
That's nice. That's nice. Let's hear some more.
Okay, coming up next we have, now here's a talk about a comedy team. This is a comedy team from radio that started with Bergen and McCarthy as a feature on that show.
Okay.
And then spun off into its own show, went into records later on, and people today still remember this.
Who could that
Don
be?
Amici and Francis Langford.
Oh, the Bickersons!
The Bickersons,
Yay!
right. Let's tune in the Bickersons here.
Okay, Bickersons.
That's what you said last week.
Well, I kept my word, didn't I? Anyway, you don't need a new dress.
Yes, I do. I've been wearing this old rag for 2 years, and I'm ashamed to go out on the street.
Stay home.
Wherever I go, the women whisper behind my back, "There goes Bickerson's wife. Look how she's dressed."
For heaven's sake, look how I'm dressed, and I'm Bickerson.
What's that supposed to mean?
It means I'm barely making enough to keep body and soul together. We don't have any extra money for fancy clothes.
No, but there's always plenty for your precious bourbon.
Oh, now, don't start that again. I never spend a penny on the stuff.
Not much. The whole house is full of empty bottles. Where'd they come from if you didn't buy them?
I never bought an empty bottle in my life, and you know.
Well, why don't you get rid of them?
I gotta get out of here, Blanche. It's getting late.
Answer me, John. Why are you so attached to a lot of dead bourbon bottles?
I was with them when they passed away.
So that was...
That's fun stuff.
Oh, I love it.
People love the
I
Bickersons.
love it.
You know.
I love it. And he just recently passed away.
About a year ago, yeah.
Yeah. That was...
He was recently inducted into the Radio Hall of Fame at the Museum of Broadcast Communications.
Is it hard to play these and to listen to them and know that they're no longer...
No, it's easy. Well, you feel sad that the talent is gone, that the individual is gone, but the talent is still around. I mean, that's a wonderful legacy. Wouldn't you love it if you could think about the fact that 30 years from now, someone might be playing some of your videotapes of your broadcasting?
God, they'll say Cooper again.
No, but wouldn't that be wonderful if that could happen? I mean, I think that's a marvelous legacy. I mean, Edgar Bergen is gone for many years. Don Amici is gone. You know, so many of them are gone, but they're still alive. I mean, they're still.
It'll still put me
us.
somewhere close to my 70s.
Well, that's okay.
But that's all right. So that's all right.
But I just think that's a marvelous thing to be able to do. I mean, see, that's part of the 20th century technology.
Sure.
I mean, wouldn't it have been wonderful if we could have recorded the voices of George Washington and Abraham Lincoln and all those people in that period of time?
Absolutely.
We just don't have that. It doesn't happen. But we have the technology, and the current technology is even more sophisticated to keep us from having tapes that we have of these things, keep them from deteriorating.
Yeah,
we're doing all kinds of things like that.
That's right, to keep them on.
And we're really lucky to have these broadcasts, and that they can still live and still entertain. I would think that's the marvelous thing. Jack Benny died 19 years ago, and last February we had a birthday party for him at the Museum of Broadcast Communications. We celebrated the 61st anniversary of his 39th birthday, which is his centennial. He was 100. He was born in 1894. He's about 100 years old.
Really?
Now, almost 20 years after he's gone, Jack Benny, as far as my audience is concerned, is one of the biggest stars of all time.
Sure is.
And his humor is perfect. So it's just great.
And hey, he's a guy from my own backyard here, from Waukegan.
Waukegan, right?
Absolutely. So.
Yeah, he was really born in Chicago.
I didn't know that.
When his mother was expecting him, she wanted to have him born in a Chicago hospital. Apparently, at that time, 1894, I don't know what the hospital
I wasn't there then.
To be in Waukegan.
I wasn't there,
so she traveled to Chicago. He was born in Chicago, but then he went back, and he was raised in Waukegan.
Waukegan, interesting.
So, and of course, he always gave a lot A lot of good recognition to Waukegan.
Absolutely.
And one of the best things that he said ever happened to him was having the junior high school in Waukegan named after him. And I think there's a Jack Benny Performing Arts Center in Waukegan.
I want to tell you that when we hear, and we saw some old tapes of Jack Benny on the air, and then he mentioned Waukegan, Illinois, the kids, my children said to me, how does he know about Waukegan, Illinois? I said, because that's where he's from, Waukegan, Illinois. So it's been my pleasure and my honor to have you here. A delight, everyone in Highland Park, and to all points north, south, and ships, Mr. and Mrs. America, all ships at sea. We want to thank you for coming on the program.
You're
Chuck
quite
Schaden.
welcome. I appreciate being here.
And Ellen, thank you very much for being here. His lovely wife. Do come back again at any time and bring your magic radio with you.
We'll bring our trusty little receiver.
Absolutely. And I am just, words cannot say that you brought back fond memories of nostalgia. And, you know, it's like you said before, there were times where you would have liked to have had it better, but these were the good things that you remembered from the radio.
Well, the radio days were some of the good old days.
Good old days. Those were the days.
Thanks, Bev.
My pleasure. Well, I hope you enjoyed our program this evening, and because it was a delight to me. I have a few announcements to make, and then you will see it on the credits as they go. And Barry, while you're running the credits, if you can just run the rest of Chuck Schaden's tapes in there on his magic radio, we'll just go off the air with that. Number one is that there is a Niles East and West class reunion, class of 1963. Please contact Jerry Bolin Getlin, 708-537-3234. Journey of Hope from Ami, please call 708-729-1457. Family to Family Education. And the Highland Park residents for gun control, or what we have now, the new gun ordinance, please contact Sergeant Fred Ruckhaber at 432-7730. Come one, come all, $5 registration buys you an opportunity to be enlisted into a class that will be happening very soon. And so that's all you need to do. Come down to the Highland Park Police Department, pay a $5 registration fee. They will then sign you up for a class, and then you will be notified when that will be. Very easy, very simple. It has been done. I did it. And we will see you again next week on North Shore Live, Cooper's Corner. Have a good evening and a safe week. And again, thank you for watching, and I hope you enjoyed this evening's program. Good night.
Well, I know this fella you call the Kingfish give you a bargain, Andy, but the top of this thing is all sheared right off. Look at there. While you're driving, the breeze is going to come right in there and hit the passengers right in the face.
Well, now, that's all right, Amos. You know what we can call it? The Fresh Air Taxi Cab Company of America, Incorporated.
Yeah, well, that's good, Andy. Let's start up the thing here and take a little ride. I want to hear that Stutz Bearcat engine, boy.
Yeah, let me open the door here.
Yeah, go ahead. Up to Daisy. Pick up the door there, Andy.
Throw it in the back seat. Now, let me get the thing started.
Yeah, start up, Andy. Holy mackerel, Andy. Listen to that Bearcat motor.
Yeah, it sounds like the bear is chasing that cat all around the place.
Andy, she's boiling over.
Uh-oh, there go the radiator cap.
There goes the radiator, too, Andy.
Yeah.
Look at that, Andy, the flame.
Yeah, let me out.
Okay, start the car, Rochester.
Yes, sir.
I wonder if this causes smog or if smog causes this. Try it again, Rochester.
Yes, sir.